Okay, so we already learned the simple idea about sequence diagram. And from this diagram, you can see about the interaction between the user and the theater. Yeah. And let's say this is the kiosk at the theater. So you can do something about the card insertion, and then you can select what is the possible date of the maybe movie or the concert, and then yeah, it will give you the seat information, and after that you can submit the order, and the order submission will go to the server, and the server will give the order confirmation. So those kind of flow, yeah, we call it a sequence. So you need to draw it. You need to show it to the users, especially for the developers. If you are the system developers, you need to understand what is the flow. Okay, so this is the first, this is the second, this is the third, and then this is the fourth, and this is the fifth. And messages. So messages means the communication between objects, and the messages appear in the sequential order on the lifeline. And we represent messages using arrow. The lifeline and messages form the core of a sequence diagram. So for example, here I have a customer, and then I want to yeah, show the interaction between customer and bank. And the first is a synchronous message. So the customer would like to request something. So we have a box here. So this box means something that will be processed by bank. And the customer can send another message, asynchronous message. So the synchronous message means directly message that can be delivered to the teller or the customer service at the bank. But the asynchronous message, maybe it's kind of like email, like inquiry that may not be in the real time. And once the bank receive the message, yeah, they will do something. Okay, so there's a processing here. And okay, this is a message, the participant creation message. So after they receive the message from customer, message 1, message 2, the bank will deliver the message to the insurance agent. And then yeah, there is a participation deletion message if the, for example, the bank already received the confirmation, then they want to delete the message. So there's a message to delete this message, and then in the customer itself, it can be like a kind of reminder, so the customer can see what they want to see on the list about the interaction between the customer and the bank. And after sometimes, if there are some inquiry from the customer, the bank can reply the message. So this kind of flow is also possible. Okay? So it is not in the sequence, but there is a kind of interaction between two objects, or this way, the communication between several objects or between two objects. So in the sequence diagram, we can see some kind of arrows. We call it, this is the messages arrows. And the arrows can be reflected in several kind of messages like this one. It can be a synchronous message, asynchronous message, written message, participant creation message, participant destruction message, or reflexive message. If it is a synchronous message, it is used when the sender waits for the receiver to process the message and return before carrying on with another message. The arrowhead used to indicate this type of message is a solid one, like the one below. So this one, yeah, it is a solid message. Sorry, this is a solid line, and it has the arrowhead, and this arrowhead means the synchronous message. So if there is no reply, then there will be no further process. Asynchronous message is used when the message caller does not wait for the receiver to process the message and return before sending other messages to other objects within the system. So if it is a message like this one, so it is a synchronous message. We need to wait until the object to return a kind of message to proceed with another message. But the asynchronous message, yeah, we don't need to wait. So I send one message and then I send another message. Yeah, you can send several times, even though there is no response from the other object. The arrowhead used to show this type of message is a line arrow like shown in the example. So if you can see here, the head here, if the head is solid like this one, if the head is solid, then this is synchronous message. If the head is only line like this one, then this one is asynchronous message. That is by the definition. There is a written message. It is to indicate that the message receiver is done processing the message and is returning control over the message caller. So after you give a message, for example, the customer give a message to the bank, there will be a written message, and the written message are optional notation pieces for an activation bar that is triggered by a synchronous message always implies a written message. So like this one, there will be a direct message or a synchronous message here, and we can say like this is the possible time to wait for the object one until he or she can receive a reply. And after, sometimes after the object one receives the response, then it can do another kind of activities. Participant creation message. It means the objects do not necessarily live for the entire duration of the sequence of the event. Objects or participants can be created according to the message that is being sent. So for example, we know that this is a kind of object. When we send a synchronous message, the synchronous message is always in the first part, in the first time when the message is created or when the message is sent. And then it will show like some period of time that the object one will wait. But in the middle of this time, there can be another message. So we call this is the participant creation message. So it will create another message. It can be to another object. And we call this is the participant creation message, not the synchronous message, because it is in the middle of the object creation. Okay? It is not in the first. Here is in the first, but this one is in the middle. If the created participants does not, if the created participant does something immediately after its creation, then you should add an activation box right below the participant box. So for example, if there is a message here to the object tree, then if you ask the object tree to do immediately, there will be another box to represent what will be the time to execute this message. In the sequence diagram, we can also send the participant destruction message. The participant destruction message means, we want to delete or we want to destroy. We do not want to continue again the request. So we call this is the destruction. Participants, when no longer needed, can also be deleted from a sequence diagram. So maybe when you are designing your system, you will have a session. If the user didn't log in for like 5 minutes or didn't log in for 10 minutes, then the ID will be removed. So that kind of things, it will be also a destruction message. And this is done by adding X at the end. Okay, so maybe the server, the object takes too long time to respond, then it can be deleted in the middle. So X at the end of the lifeline of the set participant. So here, you can have the X at the end of the last lifeline. And there can be a reflexive message. So if it is a reflexive message, it means that when an object sends a message to itself, it is called a reflexive message. It indicates with a message arrow that the start and end at the same lifeline as shown in the example below. So usually this kind of message is to show us if we are logging into a system, then it shows that now you are logging. And then if you log out from the system, then there will be an information that now you are logged out from the system. So it is a kind of reflexive message. So how do you draw this sequence diagram? There are many alternatives. Okay? There are many variants for drawing the sequence diagram. But I want you to learn the variant that I show here. The sequence diagram can be obtained from the class diagram. What is class diagram? A class diagram is a diagram that we can create based on the object-oriented paradigm. So in the first part of this course, I teach you a little bit about the object-oriented, so how we can create a class. And if you check on your, PyCharm, we call this is function, okay? Because we use def. In this case, we have class. So this class, refers to the object. Or I can say that we have one class. This is another class. So this file contains two classes. So we have two classes, or we can show two class diagram. Now I would like to show you with an example of the ERD. I think you still remember the ERD is the entity relationship diagram. And we have ADM. This is the ADM is for the automated teller machine. And we have the card reader. And it belongs, it has a connection with card. And this means the relation with cache. And there is a session to maintain the transaction when you want to get cash or when you want to do something in the ATM. So in the class diagram, you can see the attributes, okay, like ID and then cash, and then you can have some methods like switch on, switch off, get ID, and etc. And this ATM has a connection with the card reader. So we have the insert card, read card, and retain card. Okay. Now, when you are designing the sequence diagram, if you already have this kind of ERD, you can make the simple sequence diagram. So the object will be the card reader representing the entity. Okay. And then another object, which is ADM, representing this object. And then the session. The session is representing here. Because we have three entities, or let's say we call it, this is three classes, then we have the three objects for the sequence diagram. So here, I would like to start from the card reader. When the card reader, when someone inserts the card, so card inserted, so this one insert card, then there will be a creation. So there's a message creation to the session, and at the same time, we will perform the session. When the session is on, okay, so during the session on, we can do any transaction. So the first is to read the card, and the ATM will read the card, and it will give the A card. Okay, yeah, this is what they will receive the ATM card. The ATM card will go to the session. Okay, now we have the card, and we need to get the PIN. So read the PIN. So the ATM will show the message, please show the PIN. And then after the PIN is inserted into the system, it will go to the session, and then the session will give the information to the machine, and the machine will deliver the message to the card reader. So this is only when we do the card insertion. If you do more with the other transaction, for example, deposit or withdrawal, so there will be more sequence diagram. Of course, the sequence diagram will be very complex, and I do not know how complex your system, but with this diagram, we can see that it's already complex with very simple activity. I would like to show you another example. This is an example based on what we already did on the user registration. In the first part, the literature mentioned that we can use the class diagram as an object. But you can also define your object, here is the object, like the actor, or you want to register, you want to log in, you want to validate, you want to handle the error, or you want to show the welcome message. Okay? So it is related with the function. you can also do it that one. So the function, if you know all the functions, you can make all the function as the object for the sequence diagram. And this one means that the user, when they register, they input name, email, nationality, user ID, and password. And then if everything goes well, then the registration page will give the registration status. If everything is going good, then the user can log in. The user should give the user ID and the password, and there is a validation page to verify whether the user and password is correct. If it is true, then it shows the welcome function. If it is false, then it shows the error, and this block will give a message login error. When it is in the welcome page, you can check whether the role is admin or not. If the role is admin, then the user can delete and it can show the deletion result. The user can modify and the admin can see the modification result. So this is the function of user list, to show all the user or the member list. This is the function to delete the user, and this is the function to modify the user. And after we do more things in this page, the welcome page will show response to the users. Oh, sorry, this user list. The user list will give the response to the users. It means we can see how many member lists do we have. Or if it is going to the user, it means the welcome page shows the response. What is the response after a user enters the welcome page? Yeah, this is another example to show about the sequence of a user when they enter a login page. There is another kind of sequence diagram. So yeah, I give you several examples so you can have an idea how you can draw your sequence diagram later. So here I have the user, and the user can see all the list of members, and it shows all info about the members. So let's say the user would like to add one member. Then first it will verify the data type. If it is false, then it goes to error and then get back to this page. If true, then it goes back to the list member and add the user. If you want to modify, you can modify the user. So using the update member. Oh, I guess I missed some part here. There should be a line on the validate, because we are going to validate what we updated. Sorry, there should be a line more here. And then after we have the validation, if it is false, then it will return back to the update member. If it is no other things that we can do, then it will show the modification result. And if it is in the update page and then you want to delete, for example. So if you want to delete, it creates two kinds of response. Let's say you want to cancel. Then yeah, you will not delete the member information. But if you confirm to delete, then it will show the deletion result. Okay, so yeah, drawing this kind of diagram will make the reader or the user knows how to proceed the flow on your system. So even though I explained in the above part with different kind of messages, so you can comply with that one, but other literatures, they have different definition about the messages. So don't be afraid to make the arrow. So as long as I can see the explanation, it is fine. Okay, so we learned already about the sequence diagram, and I hope that you can create the sequence diagram in your final project. Any questions? Okay. Then let's continue to the last things that we can learn before the mid exam next week. This is about Git. Nowadays, there are many requirements in the company, or let's say if you want to be a data scientist, or if you want to be a web developer, or if you want to be a system developer, you need to have a GitHub. So in this PowerPoint, I would like to teach you how to use Git. So before we learn what is Git and etc., I would like to ask you to install Git. So for this purpose, I will use Git for Windows. So I'm sorry if you are using Mac, okay, or if you are using other computer operating system, maybe you can find how to install it in your computer. But let me use Git for Windows for this class. So this is the link. You can just go to this link to get the installer. So you can see here, they have several kind of Git, 32-bit and 64-bit. I guess your laptop is 64-bit, so you can just do with the 64-bit. And sometimes, yeah, it can detect your Windows. So if your Windows is 64, then you can just download with the 64-bit. So you can click here to download. Nowadays, there are many books, reference to understand about the Git. So you can go to the book if you want to understand the how Git works. So they also provide the PDF file for free, so you don't need to buy. If you won't need the GUI means the graphical user interface. Yeah, you can also run this one. Whether you want to use for Windows or for the Mac, okay, so some of them are free and some of them are commercial, so you need to pay. It depends on your purpose. So you can determine by yourself which one is the one that you need. Okay, now I have my kit. So let's install in your computer. So the kit is an open source, so you can freely install in your computer. And yeah, the first step, maybe you need to install in your folder. In this case, now I'm going to install in the C. Okay, I think last time I installed this once. Okay, so I will just overlap this folder. Okay, and for now, I guess you can install with the default settings. For example, here, which components should be installed? So this is enough for the basic one. You can install the .sh.git. So you can click next. So here I give the step by step. So just put the default. Okay. Here is the Windows Explorer integration Git bash, Git GUI, Git LFS, lab file support, and then .git and .sh. Yeah. Next, you can select the start menu. So in my case, I will select the Git. And then next, you will be asked what kind of text editor you want to use for Git. The first option is Vim. It is ubiquitous text editor because you can write with your mobile phone. You can write in any tablet. It is good, but I do not have this one. So I will choose Notepad++ because in the first part of our course, we use the Notepad++. Yeah, you can choose any other kind of, you can choose other option. For example, you want to use Notepad or you want to use WordPad. That's also possible. Okay, let me just use Notepad++. Okay. The remaining is, yeah, just make it as default. Okay. For example, this one, how can we adjust the name of the initial branch? Yeah, if it is too complicated for you, just let Git decide. And then adjusting your path environment. You can see this is recommended. So Git from the command line and also from the third-party software. And there is another kind of SSH. So this is the secure shell. Whether you want to bundle with the open SSH or using the external. So for me, I will just use the bundle. And then whether you want to use the open SSH library or you want to use the native Windows Secure Channel library. So I'm going to use this OpenSSL library. So you can just use the default, and yeah, install it in your computer. So it takes some time. I hope that you can follow this step by step, because if you want to use the Git and especially your GitHub, then you may need to use this one. Okay. So you can click finish. Now you will see the release note. Okay. So I capture all the steps. So you can see again which is the default, and if you are not sure, you can take a look again on the step by step for this installation. So before I explain how we can deal with the Git in the PyCharm, let me explain a little bit about the VCS. VCS is the version control system. And this VCS is good if you are doing a project with your friends or if you're doing projects with other people. So you will have a centralized version system. We call it the centralized version system as a server. So you can put all your files in the repository and you will have a working copy. Working copy 1 in your PC number 1. You will have a working copy in the PC number 2. You will have a working copy in the PC number 3 and so on. And if everyone is connected to this repository, you can commit and you can update. You can commit, you can update. You can commit and you can update. VCS, or the version control system, it is a category of software tools that help in recording changes made to files by keeping a track of modification done to the code. So if you have a code and you modify, and then you want to ask your friends to get the latest version, then you can use this VCS because you don't need to zip and then send, zip and then send. So it takes time. So using the Git, it will be easier for you. For example, if you only modify one line, then you don't need to send all files. You can just send only the modification, and then when you update to your computer, then it will show the result. The benefit using this kind of VCS is for the efficient collaboration, and it can leverage the productivity, and it is the effective communication and assistance. Because when you do with the big project, if you have a lot of files, then it's not easy if you do copy and paste. And it reduces the possibility of errors and conflicts. And it contributes to the project from any location. So you don't need to be in one room to make your projects. So you can just do with the VCS or the version control system. There are several types of VCS. The first is the local version control system. The local means in your computer or in your laptop. And usually the local, they use the revision control system. After you revise, it will be updated. After you revise, it will be updated. And it will be stored only in the local computer. And after you have updated version in the local, you can continue to the centralized version control system. The centralized version control system means we have one repository. So this is the example. We have only one repository. And each user gets their own working copy. You commit, they update. So it means only one who can commit, every other people can just update. So they can just get what is the new information, what is the new code, but they cannot commit. The term distributed version control system means it contains multiple repositories. So each user has their own repository and working copy. So you can commit, you can push, they can pull, they can update, and etc. So it means it is distributed. not only one person who can update, not only one person can commit, but many person can do all the Git functions. Using the distributed version control, we need a help from the tool like Git, or there is another tool we call Mercurial. And yeah, nowadays there are many tools. So I'm just giving you a very simple about Git. So how to connect to Git? There is one platform that is very good to place your repository. You can download, you can go to the GitHub. Okay. You can go to this GitHub and then make an account for this one. So this is the GitHub. If you are the first time to use GitHub, so you can sign up. So they will ask your email. Okay. So if you are the first time, please sign up and then get your ID for your GitHub. Because I already have mine, then I will not do this one. Okay. Okay. So you may have your time to make your account in the GitHub. Please use your email and please do not forget your password. For your information, in Windows 10, I guess in the Windows 11 has updated with built-in Git. But I'm not sure whether the Git works well. So I recommend you, before this section, I recommend you to install Git in your computer. So we can try to deal with the Git later. Okay, I guess I will stop here first. Let's have a break. Okay, I will continue after the break.